everyone. Thanks again for joining. We're really excited. Ruthie and I have been waiting for this day to come for quite a while. Personal brand is something near and dear to our heart, but it's certainly something that we're finding to be a critical component for your digital presence, especially with the work from home and what that looks like in the future. This is a really great topic that I hope you get a lot out of today. And congratulations to you for joining. We congratulate you for just investing in yourself. And this is something that is it's certainly not to be ashamed of. It's actually more proactive about how you connect with your network, but also how you continue to grow in your career. So thank you again for joining. Before we kick off into our presentation here, I did want to introduce all of us. So we can kind of go around the room real briefly here. And then Nancy, I'll let you then talk a little bit about the Swing Shift. So first off, wanted to thank you to the Swing Shift for allowing us Blueprinters to be on the call. My name is Susie Dalbo. I'm the Director of Marketing at Blueprint.
Yep, and I'm Ruthie Senanaika. I am Social Media Manager at Blueprint as well.
I'm Nancy McSherry Jensen. I'm the CEO and co-founder of the Swing Shift.
And I'm Sarah Denwald, and I run operations and programming for the Swing Shift.
So I'll take the next couple of slides. For those of you that are familiar with the Swing Shift, welcome. For those of you that are new, we are the destination for women in career transition. We offer a range of programs and services that are targeted to women who are looking to come back after a career pause, which is very common right now, and increasingly so in the wake of the pandemic, as well as women who are looking to shift roles or careers. Before the pandemic, we provided customized, expert-led programming in person and in job search, and we offered job search tools and services. We have moved that all online, and so we now have online live and video on demand programming, just like this one. So we have weekly hangouts. We've got Hangout Habits, and they are every Thursday at 10 o'clock Eastern. We have this week, we've got Rebecca Kraus from Expedia talking about social media. We have workshops like this one with Blueprint. We're really excited about this one too. I know I'm gonna learn a lot. We do one-on-one consults. We have a job board, and coming soon, in conjunction with the Microsoft Alumni Network and HarperCollins Leadership, we are introducing our book tomorrow called Back to Business. And we will have an online e-course that will complement the book as really learning from all of our workshops, our Career Catalyst programming, and from women like you. So that is what we offer. If you want more information, check the website out afterwards. For today, let's talk a little bit about your toolkit. When you go to look for a job, it used to be easy. You'd rev your resume and send it out to a bunch of people, and that was it. As you know, it is very different, particularly in a digital environment. You really need to leverage, you need a resume, certainly. You really need to optimize your LinkedIn. And how do you do that? You need a pitch. How do you talk about yourself and what you're looking for, given what you've been doing and where you want to go? We have business card, and I would say it's an e-card these days, but someday we'll get back together in person, and you need a way to connect with people, and you need to work your network. And the higher level implication of this, you have all of these tools that you need when you're going to look for a job. One thing that overarches all of this is your personal brand. How do you show up both in person and online? So the purpose of the programming today is to show you the relationship between LinkedIn, which is where almost every recruiter and hiring manager goes when they're looking for candidates, and the Blueprint team can talk about this in much more detail. And then how do you align your personal brand so that it makes you show up and pop as a candidate for the jobs that you want? So for the Swing, I'm going to stop talking. You can follow us at theswingshift.co. We have consults, we get the habits, we have an accountability program. Come check us out. But at this point, I'm going to hand it back to Ruthie and Susie, and let's get going and talk about personal brand and LinkedIn.
Awesome. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
All right, folks, let's get started. Personal brand. So this is one of my favorite topics Personal brand, if you're not familiar with how it works, or perhaps it's a little bit bigger of a term than you wish it would be, it's not. I'm going to make it a lot simple for you, and I want to make it very practical in this workshop for you too. That's the purpose of this. So get out your notebooks, get out your pens. I want to make sure that we are writing notes down together. And as I go through this, I have this section just more on the high level. I'm going to give you guys more of a bigger, like 30,000 foot view of what personal brand is. And then Ruthie's going to then finish with going over some very specific tactical and practical steps on what you can do to your LinkedIn profile. So as you have questions, don't hold them back. Add them into the Q&A in Zoom, and I will take a look at that at the end of my part of the presentation. So personal brand, what is a personal brand? Basically, a personal brand is your true identity. It's how your family, your friends, and your coworkers experience and perceive you. So to be clear, that's not how you think you are. This is all about the perception of what others believe you are. And so your personal brand is typically reflected by how you communicate, it's how you dress, it's how you live your life. You can even take that a step further. It's what you believe in. It's how you act. And so the key thing to remember about a personal brand is, first off, you have full control over the descriptors of your personal brand. But in the end, it really is about the perception of who you are. And so if you even take away personal, let's just talk about brands in general. I wanted to give you a couple of examples. Chick-fil-A, I think whether they're controversial or however you know them, I think they just have amazing sandwiches. But Chick-fil-A is known for having really great sandwiches, but they also have certain beliefs that they feel really strongly about. And they have coupled those things together to really establish a brand that is very recognizable across America. Same with Nike or Apple or Microsoft. You can kind of walk through those brands of what are their strengths coupled with what is their passion to equal what their brand is. And so a very simple equation that I want you to write down for yourself. What are your strengths? And that can have a plural on it. It doesn't have to be just one. But perhaps you have one strength that is more known to others than what your other strengths. I know you have more than one. Plus your passions. And that should equal your personal brand. That should give you a start. That's what starts making you different. Specific people you can even think of, right? More recently, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. You can identify what her strengths were, what her passions were to equal why she was so well known. We can go with some bigger names, Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King Jr., or one of my favorites, Pete Carroll. These are particular people that we know exactly what their strengths are, plus their passion, and they've really truly created a personal brand around their name. And just because you may not be that name of Pete Carroll or Mother Teresa does not mean you have the same opportunity to have just as much of a strength in your personal brand. And we want to help you with that in this workshop. So again, why is personal brand important? Because folks, we live in a world where perception is reality. And so what I want to remind you about this too is if I dress as, if I wear sweats, I don't wear makeup, I don't do my hair, that's going to reflect something about me. If I go into work and I have a depressing demeanor, clearly I haven't had coffee and I'm not wearing clothes that show that I'm really serious, I have now created a personal brand, right? So your actions absolutely are part of what make up your brand. So the good news is that you control all of that. In a world where a lot of things feel like it's out of our control, your personal brand is something that you get to own. And that's why I think I get so excited about it. It's because whatever you want to be known as, whatever you dream, whatever your career goals are, you can act the part. Doesn't mean that you have to have those set skills yet, but you can certainly act like it. And that's the important piece. I always think of the Brad Paisley song. It's called Online. It's basically saying, you know, I'm actually 5'3" and I live with my mom and dad, but online I'm 6'5" and I drive a Maserati. I live in Hollywood, right? So you don't want to lie, but it's all about perception, right? So again, write your part, dress the part, and act the part, because that is truly who you are. So I wanted to go over a quick exercise with you. This is your personal brand statement. And I'll be really clear, it's taken me actually months to arrive at my own personal brand statement, and it's something I change sometimes. I've changed it multiple times over the years, but it's okay to have a different one over time, and know that this is something that doesn't come super quickly, which is why I want you to write down this bolded statement. So first off, let me explain. This statement should not tell your entire story, your brand statement. It should spark curiosity in others to make them want to learn more about you. It should feel authentic to you. And if a word doesn't feel right, don't use it. You know you have it right when you say it and you feel powerful, okay? So you can write this down. I am a blank. So what I do, what my strengths are. You can even add in, you know, some adjectives in there. Who, blank, why I do it, what's my passion, what's my motivation. Maybe I'm an entrepreneur who wants to help women thrive in the retail industry. That could be a brand statement. Or I'm a tireless lawyer who enjoys helping the poor, right? You can get down more specifics around who you are, but also what you do. So again, I'm going to revisit this here towards the end, but I hope you wrote down that statement, and we'll start thinking through how we can fill that in as we go along. I also wanted to show, you know, where do you put your brand statement? It is a little formal. I don't ever really say this out loud. So I wanted to point out in my LinkedIn profile, I had this as the first statement in my about section, and you should too. Ruthie's going to go over a lot more practical steps on what you do with LinkedIn. But what I want to give to you as the overarching theme is this is content you get to own. So fill it out, use it. That's gold. Where you have an opportunity to write something about yourself, use that opportunity. And the first statement that people see on your profile after they look at your name is going to be that about section. That's your moment to pop. And so especially if you're looking to change careers and you know that a recruiter will be looking at your profile, or perhaps you're going into a really big networking event, your profile needs to be spick and span. So with that, ensure that your about section gives off this aura that this is who you are, and people feel like, whoa, I'm really interested in talking to this person. And remember that brand statement isn't going to tell your whole life story, but it should give enough that says, oh, that's interesting, that's a little different, or that's creative, I want to talk to this person more. And of course, I just use the words that are in my own brand statement, but mine says, I'm an energetic, creative leader with a passion for being different than the rest. And why I like that statement is because anything I do moving forward, any post I make on LinkedIn, any event I participate in, any mentorship program I want to get involved in, that should be reflective in who I am and what I do and how I'm portrayed. And so it actually helps keep me in check with a lot of things that I do. I can look back at that statement and remind myself, that's right, that's what I aspire to be, and that's who I truly feel like I am. And so I need to ensure that every choice I make aligns to that brand statement. So I'll give you a quick lesson on the marketing side. This is part of the PESO model. It's actually from one of my mentors who created this, but the idea is that there's different kinds of media out there. There's paid media where you can, it's usually advertisements, it's something that you have literally paid for it to be out there. There's earned media, which is really on the marketing side, it's one of our favorites because it means we didn't pay for it, we earned it, we got notified, or we were published in a newspaper, we were linked on Inc.com, that's earned media. Shared media is usually co-written or co-marketed media. Maybe you paired up with an influencer. Owned media, though, is what we're going to focus on today. Owned media is basically anything literally that you own. So that's going to be things like your social media platform or your various profiles. If you have your own website, if you have your own blog, these are all content pieces that you get to own, that you get to dictate what is on there. Therefore, things that align to and help promote your personal brand. And so I wanted to give you some practical tips on how you can actually audit either some of that owned media, but really it's your digital personal brand that we want to take a peek at and see, is it up to snuff? Is it in alignment with your new personal brand? So one tip I wanted to provide is you can Google or find your favorite search browser, Google your name, and if your name is a little bit more common, you can add in your title, where you live, a couple other descriptors that will help it narrow down to specifically you. And take a look, what's written about you? Have you been published before? Has your company ever featured you on their blog? Have you been a winner of a marathon? You know, whatever it could be, where could your name appear? And that's a really good time to take a peek and see, well, if a recruiter were to browse for my name, which to be clear, they do, what would they find on me? And when I used to work on the operations team, I'll tell you what, we found some really weird things about certain people. So it exists, and it was, even some of the content can be, you know, 10 plus years old. Once it's in the internets, it's on the internets forever. So remember that. And obviously the content you can own and you can control, you want to find those pieces and ensure that you have full control over that. If you can't, don't worry. Just be sure to know that if a recruiter were to ask you about something that they did find, that you have a story behind it. You can at least explain it to them. Second, review your social media profiles in private mode. So you can either go incognito or what have you. I save so much of my passwords on my browsers that this is really helpful for me to go into a private mode. And then it tells me, excuse me, what are other people seeing about my profile that I may not know? And so I've done this years ago, and this is back when Facebook had a few different settings, but there were about 3 different videos I had no idea were public, because I don't want videos in general being on my profile. Just at the time, it wasn't a thing. And it was videos from my family at a football game. I had one at a previous workplace, and I had one from my sorority, which was not bad. It was just, it was embarrassing because I had grown away from that stage in life, and I didn't want that reflective as part of who I am today. And so I would not have known that if I did not go into private mode. So be sure to check that out. This goes for all platforms, right? So you've got Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. You can review all of those things in private mode. Today's settings is my third. Each profile does have security settings, of course. And LinkedIn and a couple others have done a really good job of giving you the mode when you're in your profile. You don't always have to go into private mode. It can say, click here to see what your public profile looks like. That's a really cool tool to click on. But anyway, I suggest doing this at least twice a year. And if you're someone who gets published often, or you're featured on a blog or what have you, I would probably do it quarterly. But it doesn't hurt to do as often as you want. I would just say get in the practice of doing it at least twice a year. Okay, this is a fun new addition to this presentation, just with the virtual edition of everything that's going on. As I mentioned earlier, Ruthie and I have had too many conversations with the folks in our company, but also with our clients, where they're asking for help around how they present themselves, because you know, nowadays your camera setup is really important, and a couple other things from the virtual perspective. So I'm just going to go over 3 different areas and walk you through some practical examples. So the first one is your camera setup. Like I said, some key things you want to start playing around with is your background. So what's in your background? Right now, I usually actually am able to, I use Microsoft Teams most of the time so I can blur my background. So I was like, Ruthie, is my background okay today? Just make sure nothing in your background is inappropriate, that's distracting. We actually ran a webinar with GeekWire, and I won't call out the specific one, but there was a guest on there who in their background had a poster of all these different troll dolls, and they were naked. They had all these different things about them, and it was hilarious because these are dolls, but you guys, it was so distracting. And to be honest with you, what I told Ruthie too, just from a brand perspective, I knew the woman. She's incredibly smart. She actually works for a marketing firm, which was so surprising to me. But it almost decredited how smart she was and how serious I could take her, because it was so distracting. So just be aware of what your background is and use it to your advantage. And so I'm going to give you an example here shortly of some creative options. Lighting is very important too. And so with lighting, obviously we're at home. A lot of us didn't really expect to have this situation. And so you may not even have your own home office. I don't, I share it in my family room right now. So I've actually got a window to my right, which I've closed with curtains to ensure I've got some good lighting instead of the natural lighting. You never want to be on camera where the window is behind you, right? The light's then going to flush out, and so the camera is going to receive that natural light and not see your face. The best setup, of course, is if the natural lighting is behind my camera, so it's coming in on me. That gives me the best lighting. If you do have a window that's coming on the left or the right, just ensure that you have some sort of balance so your face is not half covered in a shadow. So a little tip, or I guess a secret that I have right now, is instead of a selfie ring, which are very popular right now, they sit just on top of they sit around your camera, and it's like a big circle that's full of light. I've got one that's clipped onto my monitor right now facing on me, so I can adjust that lighting. Let me show you if this is gonna work. So I can adjust the lighting depending on how the light is coming in. Anyway, so that helps with how I appear on camera. Clarity, especially if you're using your cell phone, or perhaps if you've touched your computer recently, sometimes you get a fingerprint on your camera and you don't realize it. So just be sure to use your IT approved cloth for your camera. I've used a Q-tip before, just real gently. You don't want to be too rough with that, because of course those cameras can be sensitive. And then color. So for me, this is just, it's more of an aesthetic look. So if I have all the same color in my background and I'm actually matching that color, it doesn't help me stand out in any capacity. So just be sure you have some sort of balance. I actually wore a color today because I knew my background wasn't going to have anything exciting. And I'll talk about this here shortly too from an appearance perspective, but that's where you can add color in your makeup and your lipstick or what have you. One thing I want to say about this as well, if you are using your cell phone, which is perfectly fine, so many people do, just be aware that when you're going up and down from that view on your phone, sometimes on either Zoom or Teams, it'll give you only a square. And so it'll cut you off at your eyes, so I'll just see your mouth, or it'll position you in an area that you weren't expecting. And the receiver of that video could click fit to frame, but they're not necessarily going to know that or do that. It's pretty uncommon. So just be sure if you're using your cell phone, you know how you are appearing on screen. And you can do that by looking at your preview screen of your camera. So I laugh at this because I took an example of myself and I feel really weird showing this, look like a weird model of some sort. But here's a couple of examples of what to do. So what I wanted to showcase in my picture is just how I blurred my background. I've got fairly good lighting on myself, and I've added color to what I'm wearing. The pattern isn't distracting. You can tell that even though I have done my makeup, it's not overdone. And to be honest, if I didn't do my makeup, I look like a zombie. So that's why I choose to put on makeup. Some people don't need it. But just like on the movies, actors and actresses, that makeup really does help pick up your natural features. So I do highly recommend it, especially if you're on camera for an interview or it's an important event. Be sure to add some color and some makeup to your appearance, because it really does help pick up the natural your natural features. I also use Tom Hallstrom on here. He works at Blueprint. Tom Hallstrom's on our sales team. He's also a solution architect, so a very technical person. And he's on a lot of calls. A lot of us are every day now because of our meetings. But what's really cool about his background, he's a musician. He's in a band. And so a way to showcase part of his brand was to put up CDs of their first album that they had. And that is kind of a zoomed in picture. It actually has a pretty cool layout, like the way that he designed those CDs turns out to be a pretty cool picture. All that to say, he's artistic. He's a musician. This 100% aligns to his brand. And I thought that was a really cool, creative way to showcase that. I also wanted to mention the headset that he's using is perfectly okay. I know that can look clunky, but that's acceptable. Sarah's using her AirPods today, perfectly acceptable. Just ensure that you have good audio. So you're gonna see a lot of people who even have, the microphone that goes near the mouth, totally fine. Just be comfortable in what you have. But anyway, good. What not to do. So Heather, who I love, she's usually one of our presenters, but I did catch her doing something of a no-no, so I wanted to capture her on here. She's got a window behind her, and so you can see, I can't even tell where she's looking because with her eyeglasses on, she's now got the reflection from her monitors, so I don't know if she's looking at me or looking away. Half of her face is really kind of distorted because of that lighting coming in. And so obviously you guys can tell if this was an interview, that would be it wouldn't be the best first impression that I would have of her, who's incredibly smart, right? a lot of that can be taken away in that first appearance. Obviously, once you go through the interview, things change, but you just want to set yourself up to be the best appearance, right? And then Ruthie, she was my good guinea pig yesterday, right? So she's outdoors, even though her outdoors isn't, it's actually pretty cute. I'm seeing her barbecue. I don't need to, that's distracting. And she's on her cell phone. And so I'm only seeing half of her face being captured, though she thinks it's the full face. I've seen this happen so many times, even with my own president of the company, and I have to text him and say, just so you know, I'm only seeing your mouth move. Because I want to save him the embarrassment of something that very serious that he's saying, but because he's on his cell phone, right, we're only capturing the mouth. So again, practice makes perfect. You can always jump on with your cell phone with a buddy if you need to, or with a friend before you jump on a call. If you don't jump on calls often, just practice to see what does your appearance look like in there. Another negative, which we're probably not going to be outdoors as much anymore, especially if you're on the West Coast or if you're in Pacific Northwest. But when you're outdoors, you just can't control noise. So you don't know if a garbage truck is going to go by or a siren. And of course, that all can be part of your branding. Okay, second is your appearance. So again, I talked about this briefly, but the color of clothing you're wearing. I'm a big fan of determining, what are you, a winter? Are you an autumn? What kind of coloring are you naturally with your hair color, your skin color? Choose a clothing color that then helps you pop, because again, you're on video, so it's all about that coloring. For me, if I wore a pale color, it would not look good on how I come across. It'd probably just look like my skin tone. So I need to have a darker or brighter color for me personally. And I know that. And so I've also matched, or I try to match either my lip color to match that. And then my eye makeup, I don't go heavy on, because I know that on camera that can really pick up and be a lot darker than it should. Where lip color, you can never go wrong. Same with being in person. I would give you the same rule. I always say, put on lipstick. That makes a big difference. Ladies and gentlemen too, we know when your hair is not done. the video does not hide that. I will tell you that. So if your hair is greasy, I can see it. So, and I don't mean to be rude, but just be aware of these things, because if you turn, I might see a bump or something. And so just be aware if that's something that you want to be proud of. Just take a peek, look in the mirror beforehand. And then also with eyeglasses, obviously, if you're wearing eyeglasses, do not take them off, but just be aware of what does that reflection look like. And again, if you have a bright light hitting you, you don't want it showing across your glasses, because that's going to be distracting for me as the video receiver or an interviewer. I want to see where your eyes are at and feel that human experience as much as possible, because we don't have that opportunity to be in person. And last one is background noise. And what I wanted to talk about this is more around distractions. Obviously you can't control everything, and that's totally fine. Everyone's going to understand that, especially in today's age with how many calls that we've been having online. So a couple of things, one with kids, most of us all have kids, so I totally understand that. I'm talking more about the option of having kids in the room. I've had interviewees, and I've also had people on my team who have had their kids in the background on purpose because they think it's cute, and it's actually super distracting. I'll hear them kiss their kids, and I can hear the noise, and it's distracting. Or if their kid knows that they can come in and out, and they understand they're at the age that they understand they shouldn't be coming into the room, just give your kids the heads up that, hey, I've got an important meeting during this time. If possible, don't come into this room. Kids won't know the difference between all of your other calls. So just a reminder to give them the heads up that that's a really important call for you. I know it's really easy to do a load of dishes or do some laundry in the morning to kick off your morning before a call perhaps, but especially if it's a 2-hour long process or more, you can't stop it. And if you're stuck in a room where you're in the kitchen near the dishes or by the laundry room, just be aware of those noises, because they do pick up on audio despite thinking that it's a small noise. And then pets, right? So if you know that the UPS guy is coming today, or a noise could, spark a anxious dog, put them in another room. That's not an issue at all, obviously, with hopefully with your pets. But just be aware of those things. Start walking yourself through what could happen on this call so that I'm the least distracted as possible. All right, my last slide. So here's a couple of tips for a successful video interaction. This is from my own notes that I've taken over the last 6-ish months. So first, make a crisp introduction. These are all the big parts of your personal brand. So what I have found, if I'm going to be jumping on a call where I don't know at least one person, I can expect that introductions will happen. Don't be caught off guard by making a weak introduction, right? So if you're like, oh, I didn't know this was going to happen. My name's Susie. Nice to meet you guys, right? That's not a good introduction. So what I try to have down is, are we meeting about a product? Are we meeting about a bigger plan? And so I can start to identify, if people don't know who I am, they need to know why I'm important on this call. So I'll say, hi, my name is Susie Dalbo. I'm Director of Marketing. I'm here because I oversee the marketing campaigns for this product, period. And it goes to the next person. You just want to introduce yourself, your title, and what you are doing. Next is notes available on screen. This is kind of the fun part about being on video or being virtual. You get to cheat, so to say, and having some notes available. And so especially for those who are fearful of public speaking, or perhaps you lose what you're going to say in the moment just out of nerves, a really easy way to get across or get over that hump is by having your notes on screen. Ensure that you have it down so you're not distracted by it and that you don't lose it and you're like, wait a minute, hold on, I need to find it. Well, that's awkward. So be sure that you have practiced that. And if you have 2 screens, have notes on one, have your video on the other. Just be sure you're not facing the other screen the entire time when the camera's on the other side. Always have a glass of water nearby if you choke up, because that just happens with nerves. It's nice that you have something available to you to calm you down, to reset. LinkedIn research is also super important. So especially if you're going to be talking to a recruiter, or if you're joining a call and you have a guest surprise join. So let's say you do have a recruiter, but they're like, oh, by the way, I actually want to bring your hiring manager on here too, and you have no idea who that is. Hopefully they've either told you in advance, even if it's a few minutes before the meeting, or if they introduced you on the call. If you are skilled enough to be able to pull up LinkedIn while they're doing introductions, or they say, we're going to start in a couple of minutes, take that time to jump on LinkedIn to look up that new person, understand who they are, what their role is, anything else you need to know about them. That will really help you shape your questions and the conversation a lot more, and in a strong way, of course. Turn off any notifications on your computer, especially if you're using Slack. That's usually the biggest the issue that a lot of people have, just because that noise will compete with a Microsoft product or with Zoom. And again, that's just part of the distraction factor. And then lastly, know when to mute and when to unmute. So don't be caught being that person who has the joke of, oh, I didn't know how to find the mute button, right? We all should be used to how these programs work. You want to come across as experienced and skilled, whether it's with Zoom or Teams or WebEx or whatever the program is. And of course, we have been on too many meetings where people forgot to mute themselves. So they're talking to their pet, they're talking to their kid, and it's very distracting. So just be very confident in how that process works. All right, folks, to wrap up, that personal brand statement, I want to come back full circle to it. If you take anything from my section on this home with you today, take home this brand statement. And I will share my information at the end of the presentation. I am happy to be a resource for you if you want to send me your statement just to get some second pair of eyes on it. I would love to help. But again, this should be that core value statement for yourself. And so really take time to come up with a couple of options for yourself, play around with it. Again, if it doesn't feel right, then it's not right. And again, I can't stress it enough. If you want me to help with that, I am here to do so. I'm going to hand it over to Ruthie. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to add it to the Q&A. And I don't see any right now, so I'm just going to keep moving along, but feel free to add it in there. And if I don't address it right now, if I don't see it, we will definitely address it at the end of the presentation. Awesome. Ruthie, off to you.
Thanks, Susie. So quick introduction about me. I am the social media manager here at Blueprint Technologies, and Susie and I work very closely, and we've seen a lot of different profiles throughout the company and outside of the company, and so we wanted to put together a couple of things that really we've seen that people do really well, and a couple of tips to help change the things that we see people do not so well. So I'm going to go through some really practical steps on LinkedIn specifically, but if you have any questions come up, again, as Susie said, put them in the Q&A and we'll make sure to answer those. So the first thing is using a professional photo. And this may seem like a very simple change, but it really makes a big difference. It helps you stand out and show how professional you are, show that you care about how you portray yourself online. And as Susie said, owned media is the best type of media. You want to, since you own your platform, make sure you show the best version of yourself. So here's a great example of Heather. She has an awesome headshot. And not only that, if you look at the background image on there, it also shows Blueprint on there, and that's the leadership team at Blueprint at our holiday party last year. And it just looks like a very cool photo, but it also showcases where she works, and it also shows what she does. The next one is I want you to take just 1 minute and look at these photos and really, can you see the difference of 3 of the photos versus the other 3? Some of them look professional and some of them not so professional. And if you take a look at the ones that are highlighted, you can see, okay, I'm there, Lonnie, and then we have another gal from Blueprint as well. These are professional headshots that were taken versus the other ones, of course, they don't look very professional. So I want to point out a couple things that really help showcase what is a good headshot and what makes one not so good. So first things first is how you appear in the photo. Do you look like you were trying to intentionally take this photo for LinkedIn? Is it professional enough? Are you wearing your clothes that are professional? Is your hair and makeup done? And I don't want someone to overdo their hair and makeup to look like you're going to the Emmys. You're not trying to do that. You also don't want to shock someone. And we've had many of these where you have a LinkedIn profile photo that looks over the top amazing, and then you look at them in a video chat and you're like, oh my gosh, you look nothing like this. So you want to make sure that you have a very accurate representation of who you are, but also staying very professional at the same time. So you can see the quality also, the quality in difference of these photos. Some of them have way better quality than the others. And then you can also see at the top right-hand corner, that one clearly is a family photo that's cropped out to try and show one person. So if you can, try your best to intentionally take a photo for LinkedIn. If you are able to get a professional headshot done, awesome. If not, a phone is totally fine too. And if you have an iPhone, you can do a portrait mode photo that kind of blurs out the back a little, showcases you and your headshot. So the next one that I will talk about is creating a summary that highlights aspects of your personal brand. And Susie went over this as well, but I want to emphasize how you can really make your about section or your summary section really about you and to showcase yourself. So LinkedIn itself has given you this platform, and it is your golden opportunity for you to showcase who you are and how you differentiate from anyone else on LinkedIn. So as Susie said, you can add in your personal brand statement at the top, show what you're passionate about, what motivates you, and then have a little blurb about what you do for a living. And in this case, she's talked about working in the marketing department at Blueprint. Okay, but anyone can be a marketing director. What makes you stand out amongst that? And so, not everyone, Susie. But you get what I mean. So you want to make sure that you showcase what makes you so special and what you've done in the company. You're going to also bring out your likes, dislikes, and you can say in this case, Susie said, I'm a wife, a mom, a deer hunter, UFC football fanatic, and she goes on. And so this is where you can showcase some of the fun things that you like to do as well. That way, if someone sees you post something, let's say Susie talked about teams being integrated into football. People understand, okay, I see how she brings those together because this is who she is and this is her personal brand. So the next one is displaying visual content in your featured section. And I understand this might not be applicable to everyone, but this also is a great opportunity to make your profile pop. And a lot of people don't know how to take advantage of this section. So if you go into editing your about section, you can easily add this as well. So if you are featured in an online magazine, in this case, you know, Susie was featured in the 4 to 5 business magazine as 30 under 30. Or if you were featured in an article online, anything to do with you being featured online is an opportunity for you to focus on that in your profile. So just go into the edit section of your about, and then you can choose if it's a website, if it's a PDF that you want to upload, whatever it is. If it's a book that you are featured in, always add that. It really helps emphasize your personal brand. And one thing I did forget to mention in the profile section that I want to mention really quick is LinkedIn has come out recently with a feature to add voice to your name. And this can be very helpful, especially if you have a name that is a little more difficult to say. So my last name, I'm from Sri Lanka, and Senanayaka is not an easy name to pronounce. I get that. But it's always great for you to make it easier on other people to say your name correctly. And of course, you want your name to be said correctly as well. So all you have to do is, again, in that edit section, you can change and add a voice to your name where you can record yourself saying your name out loud and add that to your profile. This is only available on your phone feature at the moment. So you have to do it on your phone, edit, and go ahead and do that. But it helps, you know, anyone who's interviewing you to be able to be more comfortable with that, and the other way around. So this one is providing detail in your experience section. So your experiences go over any job that you've been in. So you want to make sure that you stand out here as well. And this is where you can talk about what you made different in this role. So this example right here shows a recruiting coordinator at Microsoft. Once again, anyone can have this specific title, but what makes it different that you had that role? What makes you stand out, and what type of projects or any type of work that you've done in that role help you stand out in any other situation that you've been in? So let's say as a recruiting coordinator in the Microsoft role, you have really helped, you know, increase recruiting by a certain amount of percentage, and that's a really cool number to highlight. You'll want to add that in here. You don't want it to be something that everyone knows, which is like, I help recruit for Microsoft. That's very, everyone already knows that, but showcase what really makes it makes your role interesting and what type of an impact you made in that role. So listing your honors and awards you received is also a cool way to showcase your personal brand. So there's a couple different ways that you can do this. The first thing is your honors and awards, your organizations, which is any type of organization you've been a part of, and that can even be, you know, like Susie has on here, a sorority that she was a part of. And you can also add in here languages. That helps really show the diversity that you have, and helps you stand out in another way. So on my my profile itself, I have another language that I speak, which is Sinhalese, and that can show, you know, this is the platform that I have shown to try and show people a little bit of my culture as well, and show how you know, I've learned a new language, or English is a different language for me, right? And so this is a different way of showcasing who you are and how you can really make your profile pop. You can also share articles, blog posts from influencers, connections, and other publications, but just making sure that whatever you post is very credible and it is non-biased, and these are all different things that you have to keep in mind when you post. So this little section right on the screen is called your activity section. Whether you like it or not, this is on your LinkedIn profile. So you want to make sure that what is on there is going to be only uplifting you and not something that's going to really make someone upset or cringe when they see this. So a couple different ideas of what you can post. So like I said, having credible sources. Make sure you're not posting fake news. People are not going to enjoy seeing that on your feed, and they will start to not trust you or your profile. Making sure that you post unbiased news as well. So what type of sources are you using? If it's a news article, make sure that you are posting something that has the facts and not taking certain sides. You can also post different photos. You can post anything that really helps you stand out. So a couple different ideas is taking advantage of hashtags on there. Knowing how many hashtags to use also is something to keep in mind. So different algorithms on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of them have different algorithms. So keeping in mind not to use a ton of hashtags on LinkedIn is important. I like to keep it at 5 or less, or else it becomes, your post gets moved down on someone's newsfeed. So keep that in mind. Whereas if you're gonna post on Instagram, maybe 10, 11 is totally acceptable. And Twitter might even be more. But Facebook, you don't want any hashtags on there. If you do want, maybe 1 or 2. So just keeping in mind that all platforms are different and they need to be treated differently. Another thing you can also take advantage of on your posting is posting a different type of content. So there's articles and publications, but then there's also photos. So let's say you're out and about for work, and you have an awesome meeting that, at, let's say, a coffee shop. What you can do then is, let's say Susie and I are at this meeting. I can take a photo and say, I had a great meeting with so-and-so. I'm so excited for what's next. I've learned, or you go to a conference and say, I've learned so much at this conference, and I can't wait to, share my article on the thoughts on this. So another way that you can share your thoughts and share your personal brand is by posting articles. And LinkedIn allows you to really easily make articles that look like blog posts. So very simple. All you have to go to is your newsfeed and click on the tab that says make a new post and click on article. That then gives you a really easy way for you to type out your article. What I like to do is type everything out on a Word doc, make sure my spelling is correct, make sure everything looks good, maybe send it to someone else to get a second pair of eyes on that, and then add it into my LinkedIn and then post it. What that does is it shows that it's an article on your profile. It also shows within that newsfeed. You can also take time to take different photos of, let's say it's a quote that you wrote. You can then take a photo of yourself with a blank space on one side that you can then add in some captioning or some quote to make it pop a little bit and have a variety of content. You don't want to only be bombarding people just with articles and articles. People want to see a different variety. And keeping in mind that who your audience is also important. Who are the people who are following you? You don't want to be posting content that nobody else is really enjoying or liking. So keep that in mind. The next one is adding your education, online courses, certifications, and volunteer experience. So this is another way that you can emphasize your personal brand through your profile itself. So if you've taken the time recently during COVID, while you had some extra time to do some online certificates or online courses, this is a perfect place for you to add that in here. If you have any volunteer experiences, this is a great spot to put that in as well. So think about different times that you've been talking to people and networking with people. What type of conversations come up? And what things do you highlight in those conversations? And make sure you transfer them into your LinkedIn. Make sure you highlight those particular topics, whether it was in a job role in your experience section, or if it's in a volunteer experience or certifications as well. So LinkedIn groups, this one is a little bit newer to people, and it might not be known by many at all. So within your LinkedIn search capabilities, you can search a topic. And in my case, I like to always search marketing or social media. When I do that, it then allows me to have a drop down of groups that you can select. So you can select groups and it'll show you a bunch of different groups in your area of expertise, whether it's like-minded individuals, or let's say it's an area that you want to learn more about in order to get more understanding. You can just select a group, and sometimes the group will ask you a couple of questions, maybe security type questions, to be entered into that group. Or it might be an open group where anyone in that area of expertise can join. So take a look at the groups that you really want to be associated with and connect. So posting is key. So first of all, the reason behind why you post consistently. Number one, it shows on your activity. You want to show people that you are active, you are showing interest in topics that are relevant in this time and age. And you also want to show show up on people's news feeds to keep reminding people, hey, Ruthie's in marketing, Ruthie does this. If you have questions, ask Ruthie. That type of a thing is what you want to trigger people. So consistency is key in the number of posts. You also don't want to go to the other side where you're over posting and just bombarding people with posts. So have that good balance and see what type of posts people like, so that you're only posting things that are relevant to them. And if you are unsure about a post that you want to put up, make sure that you get someone else to look at it. In my family, all of my siblings and my mom and dad, they all know that I do social media. So whenever they have a post, they'll text me a photo and say, hey, I want to post this, give me a caption. Or can you help me out with understanding how I can tie this into this topic? And that's something that I help them with. So find someone that you can really reach out to. Maybe it's a friend, a family member, whoever it is, that can help you make your post stand out amongst anyone else's. And then this one, only accept invites from those you want to be affiliated with. This one can be a little bit tricky because some people don't necessarily agree with this, but from Susie and I's experience, we see that it's very important to accept invites from who you want to be affiliated with. And what that means is, I'm not saying don't accept invites from people you don't know. It's just saying, take a look at their profile. Is that something you want to be affiliated with or associated with? Because let's say a recruiter at Microsoft is looking at your profile and somebody did not have a good experience with Microsoft. They blasted Microsoft everywhere, and you are connected with them. It shows that you have that association, and it might leave a bad taste in that recruiter's mouth saying that you have a connection. So you want to make sure that you are only associated with people you would be proud to be associated with, and that you can trust, and that can help you and help you grow in any situation of your career. So number 11 is using LinkedIn Daily Rundown. This one in particular is for the US, but there's ones for all over the world that you can help stay connected and understand what is going on in the world today. This really helps you feel a lot more intelligent as well. When you see these rundowns come through and you're like, okay, well, I understand this topic coming up. I know how I can maybe bring that up in a conversation I have later. Another one other than LinkedIn Daily Rundown that you can use, which Susie got me hooked on, is called the Morning Brew. And that is a daily email that you can get in your inbox every morning that gives you the scoop on what's happening, whether it's tech, whether it's political. It's a very unbiased platform that helps you understand what is really going on. And, sometimes you might not feel super confident or feel like you really know what's going on all the time. And this helps you really stay in the know of what's going on, and helps you whenever you're having conversation with people, whether you're networking, you want to just at least for me. I would like to see more intelligent, and other than just, if someone brings up a topic about a new tech move that happened, you want to be able to talk about it with them and not just be, silent because you don't know what's going on. So this helps you really stay in the know. And then number 12, this is the most important thing I want to mention. If you take anything away from what I say, please take this away. LinkedIn is not Facebook. Cute photos of dogs, yes, everyone loves them, but they're not meant for Facebook. Not meant for LinkedIn. They're meant for Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, whatever you want. Just making sure that you keep that separation of professionalism that you want to portray online. So the one thing that not many people realize is, let's say you see this cute photo or video that pops up on your feed. If you like that, that then shows up on your profile under your activity section. So just keep that in mind of what you're liking, what you're commenting on, and what you are connecting with is all going to be on your activity section. It's also important to know that whatever you comment on, you make sure you're respectful when you do so. If you really have, important thing to talk to someone about because of something they posted, send them a direct message or private message instead of blasting someone on social media for everyone to see. It just doesn't show that you are very professional, and it's important to keep that professionalism on LinkedIn. And whatever it is, you're posting online, just keep that in mind. So another thing that I've also heard from a recruiter is they found the perfect candidate. Everything, the interview went well, on paper they're perfect, they met up with them and everything was awesome. But then the recruiter, right before they sent out the offer letter, they wanted to look at their LinkedIn, and then they saw on the activities section that they had said something that did not support the core values of that company. And that was a huge turnoff to the recruiter, and they did not send that offer letter to them. The companies that are looking for people are also not only looking for technical expertise in what they're looking for to fill the role, they're also looking for someone who fits well with the culture of the organization, with the values that they uphold. So look up companies that you want to be a part of if you're looking for a job, and really dig deep into what do they value and how can I make sure I portray that type of value in the post that I put up. Is always going to be super, super important. So whenever you're going to post something on LinkedIn, think twice about, is this LinkedIn appropriate, and then go ahead and do so. So that is all about all the talk I had. We all want to understand, is there any type of questions you have that we can help answer for you? And maybe it's something right now that you don't have something come up, but comes up later on. Feel free to connect with Susie and I on LinkedIn, send us a message, or connect with Sarah or Nancy, whoever you want to connect with, and we are happy to connect and talk more in depth about this as well. But we have some time to answer some questions, so feel free to add them in the Q&A section.
Yeah, you guys will note you are on mute, so the only way to add in questions will be in the Q&A section. And as we wait for that, I just wanted to wrap up a couple of thoughts as Ruthie was concluding here. I'll share for my own personal experience during this work from home and COVID. And as I mentioned, I'm the director of marketing for Blueprint. So I am in charge of the vision and the direction and the strategy of our campaigns, how we're interacting with our clients. And I'll tell you guys this, if you're waiting for those in-person events to come back before you go and do things, it's not going to happen for a long time. And so something we had to pivot with very quickly into the first couple of months of working from home, we realized we've got to turn as much as we can to be virtual. And you can still have a really great experience. You can still network. You can still do so much because of the technology that's available to us now. And so much of it is free. If that's also something that you're struggling with, identifying what are the right tools to use. We work for a technology company. We're happy to also help give you those insights as well. But just remember, don't let that idea of, well, it probably will happen a couple of months where this thing will be available. I can guarantee you it's going to be a lot longer than you expect. So try to put yourself out there virtually. It is a little scary. I understand that. And I think if you can follow some of our tips here from both the LinkedIn profile, as well as really embracing what that digital personal brand is, really shouldn't be different from an in-person personal brand. But I hope you'll find you'll be a lot more confident in conversations and even sharing articles and getting conversations started. People understand that's the way to interact, at least for now. So on LinkedIn specifically, Ruthie and I have seen a huge uptick in our numbers from an engagement level with the company's profile. And I'm assuming that's going to be on your personal level too. So like what Ruthie was mentioning earlier, make a pact to yourself to try to post, if once a week is a stretch, perhaps bring that down a bit. Once a week is a really good number to commit to. And that's sharing an article, that's posing a question. You can get really creative with your posts, but let your network know you're online, you're interesting, but you're also interested in what they're saying. Join in on their conversations, add comments, engage with other posts, like it. When you do that, just the human element, folks will go and do that back to your profile as well. So, and take this opportunity to really become that virtual queen or king. And I want to share one more thing, an anecdote with you guys. I had someone reach out to both the president of our company and myself. She wanted to network. I had no idea who she was. She had, I think, 5 connections with us who were actually pretty legit quality people. So we thought, we don't know her, but sure, we'll connect with her. And instead of a coffee, and this happened, I think, a month into the work from home, so she was offering a coffee. And so the president of the company said, skip the coffee, let's join a phone call tomorrow. Like, forget next week coffee, or whatever it was going to be. Let's jump on the phone. It was my first time doing that kind of networking. It felt really weird for me at first, but like 1 minute into the phone conversation, it was so fun. We both recognized it was different and a little awkward at first, but we're saying, hey, it looks like we have people in common. Tell me about your story. What's your background? She shared her story. I shared mine. Ryan shared his. And then we said, wow, it sounds like there's a really cool theme between our stories here. And we were able to form a conversation around that. Turned out we knew people that we didn't have that showed connections on LinkedIn. And now we're already talking to her about a potential business opportunity. So I know it doesn't always happen like that, but try to put yourself out there. If you are looking for that next role, if you're looking for perhaps just advancing your career or just your education, try to connect with a couple of people that you feel you can trust and see what happens. You never know what good things can come out of that.
Susie, I just want to add one thing. If you are a little nervous about posting, if maybe you're worried nobody's going to like your post, you can always join our Facebook community and let us know when you post something, because we will go over to LinkedIn and make sure that we like it and we share it, and we're your biggest cheerleaders here at the Swing Shift, and so use us for that. And then also, as Susie was saying with networking, we have our accountability program coming up, and that is essentially what it's for. It's to help you expand your network in a very low barrier, comfortable way. So we put you with a group of others, and you're going to go through 6 weeks of working on job search tools and your marketing toolkit. But in the meantime, you're also growing those networks. It's like forced networking for you. So if that's hard, or you're nervous about not sure where to start, that could be a great place too.
Awesome. That's huge. You guys should take her up on that, because you don't get that often. That's good. All right, a couple more seconds, or maybe another minute for you to add in any other questions. We did answer a couple in there if you want to take a peek at some of the questions that have been asked.
Right. This is Nancy. One thing that somebody had asked during the presentation was, what if you're not published, right? What if you don't write things? And you talked a little bit about this, Ruthie. Like, can you put, I said, yes, if you've been in a video which is safe for work, and it's appropriate for work, is it appropriate to put those things in there? And how do you translate more informal items like that into something that's more professional?
Yeah, I think maybe, so if you do have a video that's through work or something like that, that has any sort of connection to either what you do at work or what you're passionate about getting into in a new career, of course, definitely add them. You can always add them onto a YouTube page or a Vimeo page that'll help you give a quick link that you can then add to your featured section as well. You can also then take that to the next level and do a post about it. And that way you can give an idea of how you see this working into your career and give a little bit more insight that way.
That's a great suggestion, Ruthie. I think putting that context on it really helps for many of the women who have taken breaks and are coming back. They have to draw the line between what they've been doing and where they want to go, and put the what's in it for me for the potential hiring manager based on what they're doing. So that's a great way to do that. So if you've been leading a fundraiser for a nonprofit organization where you've raised $500,000, you can have a clip from a party, for example, and then put the context and say, we worked with this many volunteers, raised this much money, had this kind of impact.
Exactly. Yep.
Great. All right. Last call. Ruthie and Susie, thank you so much for lending your time and expertise to our community. I learned so much, and this was incredibly valuable. We will be making this available as a video on demand service, so that if you've missed it now, you can. If you were on screen, you want to watch it again, we'll make it available to you, and then. For people who want to watch this another time, we'll have it available for purchase. Connect with us all on LinkedIn if you haven't already. And the Blueprint team has, all of our connections here on the page. We hope you are all staying well, and we'll look for you online.
Thanks so much, you guys. It was our pleasure to be on here.
Thank you. This was great.
Thank
you so
you.
much. Bye, guys.
Everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Do the Zoom wave.